Evaluate your space. Perhaps you already have your property and are ready to get started. Great! Skip ahead to the ideal guests section below. If you are still in the finding a place stage, then let us start with choosing the property you are thinking of. Do you have a specific property in mind? And how is it structured? Location and attractions. What are you close to? The airport, a major highway hub, the beach, mountains, ski resort? Where you are determines so much, and you need to know all about it so that you can promote it. Make a list of positives. You will use this when you craft your listing. If you are close to a theme park, the waterfront, touristy destinations, conference center, or speedway, write it down. This will come in handy later. Who is your ideal guest? Recognize that you can change on this. I originally envisioned hosting writers and readers, but I found I was hosting a high number of one-night stays because of our geographic location. Over 95% of our guests are traveling through from one coast to the other. Child and/or infant-friendly. Unless you are planning on an upscale, exclusive, resort-style destination, I'm going to suggest that you remain child-infant friendly. Families travel, and they especially appreciate short-term rentals over hotels and motels because of the obvious benefits provided. Kitchens, bedrooms, and often more. Child-infant friendly means including a pack-and-play, high chair, and possibly other child-infant-centric items such as games, puzzles, toys, art supplies, coloring books, crayons, or colored pencils, outlet covers, plastic dishware, and utensils. They don't take up a lot of space, and families with young children deeply appreciate not having to tote the items in with them. Pet-friendly or not? Deciding on whether to allow pets can be a difficult one. You never know exactly what other pet owners find acceptable until they visit with their animals. All of my properties are pet-friendly, but that has certainly had its problems. I've got a chapter devoted to the question of allowing pets or not. More on that soon. Amenities that will help sell your guests on your property. Wi-Fi. The faster the better. Thanks to COVID and other world events, more and more people are traveling while working, and they require top-of-the-line Wi-Fi. Technology is always changing, so do your own research on this and get the best that you can afford. It will pay for itself in the long run. Fireplace. I understand that this isn't always possible. In our Airstream, it certainly isn't, but in Cottage West, we were concerned enough about the integrity of the chimney that we ended up placing an electric fireplace unit into the space. It glows, it gives off heat and some level of atmosphere, but it isn't a logs crackling in the fireplace kind of experience. That said, people enjoy it and use it. Workout equipment, even a yoga mat. In Cottage West, there is an enclosed back porch that is perfect for sipping coffee or practicing yoga, so I included 2 mats. I did the same with the Airstream, placing the yoga mats in a cabinet on the spacious outside deck. This has worked well, and I've had multiple compliments over the years. I got the idea from Gimpy's, this adorable, colorful place I stayed at outside of Franklin, Tennessee. I was attending a conference there, and every morning I sat out on the enclosed screen porch and practiced yoga. It was an excellent start to my day. Using workout equipment, or even something as simple as a yoga mat, can increase the production of serotonin, a feel-good chemical in our bodies. And this can lead to excellent reviews. Trust me on this. A coffee maker, or pour-over, or French press. Whether you provide a coffee maker, ceramic pour-over, or French press, add a few tea bags on the side as well. I caution against Keurig coffee pods. Not only are they poor quality, but they are expensive and wasteful. Many hosts complain guests steal any excess K-cups. I stock ground coffee and fill up a jar and set it there on the coffee station. I provide a French press along with instructions, and I have a ceramic pour-over there in my Cottage West rental. In over 3 years, I have had only one guest complain that I didn't have a Keurig. The weird thing? They traveled with decaf K-cups, but didn't bother trying to open one and use it with the ceramic pour-over, which would have worked just fine. A desk or workstation. The amount of people traveling and working is increasing exponentially, so it pays to have a workspace or desk if you have room for it. The Tree of Life entry table I created for Cottage West is quite spacious, and I have had several traveling workers comment on it favorably. You can see that on my website at cottagebb.com. Iron and ironing board. I don't own a single item of clothing that requires ironing. That said, providing an iron and ironing board can be a lifesaver for a traveler who needs to press a dress shirt. Steamers are also a nice touch. Nightstands and reading lamps. Nightstands or equivalent furniture on each side of a bed, along with small reading lamps, bonus points if you can find them with USB chargers and electric outlets, are essential. Guests love having multiple options. Having just one overhead light isn't enough. Luggage racks. Simple, metal with fabric straps, foldable luggage racks are the way to go. Squirrel them away in a closet, one for each bedroom. Dressers. Even if your short-term rentals have luggage racks, closets, and more, add a dresser to each bedroom. You never know when you will have a long-term guest, or even a guest who is staying a few days who will want one. Swimming pool and/or hot tub. These are huge draws for guests, but they do come with a need for maintenance, higher electricity and water bills, and other issues. Heat and air conditioning. It's pretty standard, but it needs to be said. Unless you live in an area that is consistently at a year-round temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit, you will probably need heat and AC. Central heat and AC are the norm, so if you only have window units or space heaters, disclose that in the listing so guests know what to expect and don't end up giving a poor review because they didn't get what they expected. Television with cable streaming services provided. Guests expect some kind of basic entertainment package. With so many choices, you don't have to have standard cable any longer. We provide Netflix, Hulu, CuriosityStream, and Amazon Prime to our guests, along with a digital receiver that allows guests to watch all the local stations. A note next to each TV requesting that the guests not sign out of the provided account and go into their own will avoid trouble down the road. We once received a less than stellar review after a previous guest had logged out of Netflix, and the most recent guest didn't know the login. Never provide that password. Just make sure it stays logged in. And assumed we had misled them in the listing description. Also, if you are close to your short-term rental like we are and share the login, you may wish to create a separate account for your guests. Otherwise, they change, mess with one of your own logins. The Airstream does not have a TV, so we simply made a Cottage West user account on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon for our guests, and that has worked out well. Toiletries, including good toilet paper. I will have a complete list later in the book, but just start thinking about what you would need or use in your own home, and consider supplying that for your guests. You want them to feel at home, so how can you make that happen? Toiletries, including cotton balls, mouthwash, toothpaste, individually wrapped toothbrushes, earplugs, analgesics, and so much more. And for goodness sakes, get the decent toilet paper. Cheap is as cheap does. Blankets, throws, sheet sets, and extra pillows. I make sure there are at least 4 pillows on each bed, plus another 2 in the closet for each bedroom. Blankets, you can never have enough of. Same with throws. Again, you will get a specific list later in the book, but plan on these things. Are short-term rentals legal in your area? Thanks to some poor actors, the legalities of operating a short-term rental in your particular area are of particular concern, and they vary widely. Trust me, you do not want to assume they are legal and find out later that your municipality banned them. In the summer of 2020, after skimming through the city codes in a small town to the south of Kansas City, I couldn't find anything that showed that short-term rentals weren't allowed. I sank $9,000 into fixes, new fixtures, improvements, and furnishings on our 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Belton that had been a long-term rental. 6 weeks after opening for business, I received a letter from the city of Belton informing me that short-term rentals were prohibited and there would be no exemptions or workarounds. I can still remember the guy from Codes telling me, "Ma'am, you are operating a hotel in a residential zoned area." Oh, was I ever hot at the thought that he was calling my short-term rental a hotel. A hotel? I was providing something far better than a hotel. In the end, it was a far better scenario to continue to return to a long-term rental because of the location of that property, which was 22 miles away. I prefer to be close to my short-term rentals. Very close. Which is why they're all within view of my house. It also dissuades guests from throwing parties when they read my house is right next door. I don't explain that right next door is actually at the far end of 150 feet worth of garden space. It was a hell of a lesson, one that I hope you do not repeat. Take my word for it. Find out the scoop on codes and running a short-term rental before you sink thousands of dollars into it. I suggest calling the city or town hall and asking to speak to someone with the codes division. They should be able to answer your questions. And it isn't a simple yes or no answer. In Kansas City, they have passed special legislation for short-term rentals. Depending on whether you are sharing your house or using a separate property, house, apartment, tiny house, etc., there are different licenses and fees and qualifying hoops to jump through. There is no searchable database of what a particular town might do. If you live in one of the bigger cities, it will be far easier to find out the exact requirements of operating your short-term rental than it can be for small towns here in Missouri. Do yourself a favor and find out what those qualifications are and adhere to them. Nothing spells catastrophe like a rollicking short-term rental business that is suddenly under scrutiny or a cease and desist by the powers that be. Is everything in working order? This assumes you have a property ready to go. But if you do, then you want to make sure everything is in working order. Do you have a squeaky door? Fix it. Leaking faucet? Fix it. A broken window? Replace the glass. And on and on. Remember, we are still in the planning stages of creating your short-term rental. Read on to learn more about themes and decor.